Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Spiritual Growth Diaries with me, Cody. So stoked you're tuning in. Sorry I missed you last week. I got some killer allergies, man. They were wrecking me. So I had to skip it. Of course, I delayed recording my video a little bit. So then the allergies hit and then I couldn't record. But I'm so stoked to be back. You know, I had a pretty big milestone for me this week. I hit 7 years clean and serene in recovery. So I'm super stoked about that. I'm super grateful about the life I live today and the blessings, and my heart is just filled with so much gratitude for all the people who've helped me out, and you know, I'm just internally grateful. But you know, this video I don't want to make about me. I don't want to make it about me. I want to make it about the people or anyone who's out there still struggling with drugs and alcohol or substances or any addictions of any kind. You know, when I was in the depths of my addiction, it got really dark for me. It got really, really bad. And I got into a hopeless hole of just dread and fear and shame and guilt. You know, I first started off with alcohol. It started off as something that was really fun for me, and then as time got on, it started getting really bad. And you know, I started becoming a 24/7 drinker, shakes, and you know, my life revolved around it. And once my alcoholism came out, I wasn't ready to stop. So what I started doing is I started secretly taking prescription pain pills, and I started doctor shopping and figuring out how to fake injuries and doing all of these types of things that would allow me to get more prescriptions. And once I got scared of that, I moved on to bigger, and finally, you know, it just started escalating and escalating and escalating. And I remember one time in particular that will always, I don't want to say haunt me, but will always remind me of how bad my addiction was. You know, one day I was at home and I thought I had more pills, but I didn't have any more pills. I thought maybe I had a prescription at some pharmacy somewhere, but I didn't have a prescription at any pharmacy. And I was feeling sick. I was feeling really, really sick. And I was getting desperate. I hadn't had pills in a while. I was starting to go through withdrawals. And once you're in addiction like that, it becomes your sole focus. You can't think about anything else except how are you going to get more drugs. Your body, every part of you, your mind, everything is focused on getting more drugs. So I tore my house apart. I'm looking under the couch. I'm going through shoes. I'm going through clothes. I'm going underneath the bed. I'm going underneath carpets. I'm checking everywhere, every hiding spot that I could think of. Going through my car. I mean, I'm sweating. I'm ravenous. I've got to get my pills. And I couldn't find any. And I started getting more and more desperate. What am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? I didn't have an answer at first. And so what I started thinking about is, how can I get more pills? My connects aren't picking up. I don't have that much money. What am I going to do? So I started thinking, okay, you need to hurt yourself. You need to do something to hurt yourself, so then you can go to the doctor and you can get more pain pills. Well, what am I going to do? Start walking around the house. I start thinking about things that I can do that would hurt me enough to where I would be able to get more pain pills. And as my desperation is growing and I'm not really thinking of anything to do or anything that I should do, I go into my garage, and in the back corner, I see a rusty saw, about this big. Rusty as hell, old as shit. I'd never used it. It's probably been in the house forever. And I decide, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna cut my finger. I'm gonna try to saw my finger. That'll get me to the doctor. I'll tell him I did it by accident, sawing something in the back, got my finger. Go up and I grab the saw. At this point, I'm in tears. I don't have any other idea what to do. I have to get my pills. I grab the saw and I lean over the kitchen sink and I start sawing. And I'm sorry if this is a little bit triggering. It is triggering, but I want to convey this story for a purpose. So as I'm going back and forth on my finger, I'm crying and the pain is obviously immense. And I get to a point where I realize I can't do it anymore. It hurts too much. What am I gonna do? I can't do it anymore. And, you know, one of the things, it left a scar on me. It left a scar, and I'll show it to you here if you can see it. It's right here on the finger. I'm pouring out blood out of my finger, but I don't feel like I've gotten deep enough. I can't go to the doctor with a deep scratch and ask for pain pills. Plus, who knows, all of these hospitals around me probably have an idea of who I am already. So I'm crying, and I don't have an answer. I don't have pills. So what I decide to do is I decide to relapse on alcohol. I go to the store and I relapse on alcohol. You know, I tell this story not to trigger people, not to gross people out, not to weird people out. I tell this story because if you're someone who is still struggling with alcohol and drugs or anything, I feel your pain. I've been to the depths of despair when it comes to my addictions. I did things that I can't even fathom. I look back on them and I can't even believe the things I stole. Priceless family heirlooms from my ex-wife, my parents. I broke into homes, tried to break into pharmacies, tried to saw my finger, stole from friends, stole from family, did everything I could. And I hated myself throughout all of it. You know, a short time after that, I'd given up. There was no out for me. I was stuck, and I was destined to be a person who harmed the world and hurt the people I love the most. And so I decided to end my life. So I tried to. And I'm not going to go too much into that story, but what I ended up doing is not succeeding. And I woke up the next morning so sad that it didn't work. Why am I still here? What is my purpose? All I'm going to do is hurt people. But you know what ended up happening? Is I was so fucking tired of feeling so miserable and being what I felt like such a terrible person that I finally decided to ask for help. Came over to my parents' house, broken, crying. And the next day or 2 days later, I was checked into one of those hospital units where you can't have your shoelaces or your belt because you're going to harm yourself. And I would have. I was still very suicidal going into that place. But slowly but surely, I started realizing the huge opportunity that I had. I was now in a confined space, watched by people, no way out, no drugs. I saw finally for the first time in years, if not decades, an opportunity of hope and a new beginning in getting off drugs. And, you know, days kept adding up, and I got excited about recovery, you know, and I started loving recovery. I started feeling good, and I started not hating myself so much. And I started seeing opportunities, and I started seeing in the distance of my mind the person that I could be without drugs and alcohol. And I started holding on to that vision. And that's why, and that's how, with work and dedication to my recovery, that I have 7 years. The reason, again, that I tell this story is for the person who just doesn't feel like there's any hope, that there is no life for them to live, that there is no next phase, next chapter, there is no happiness, there is no life other than desperation and shame and guilt. And I'm here to tell you that that's how I felt. That's how I felt. To the fucking core of me, that's how I felt. But I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. Something finally dawned on me that I could get better. And I didn't plan on it happening. I didn't know it was going to happen. And you don't know when it's going to happen either. But I'm trying to provide a message of you to hope, to know that it will and it can happen for you if you keep pushing forward, if you don't let the shame and guilt end you, if you don't take that last hit that will end up ending your life. I know that's easier said than done, but just keep holding out hope. Don't let the internal shame and guilt you feel about you being sick, and that's what you are, you're sick. You need help. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not that you're morally bankrupt. It's not that you're a psychopath. It's not that that you're evil. It's that you need some help. And finally, I hope that you can get to a point where you will ask for that help. I can't predict when it will happen for you, but that's the thing. It will, but you just got to keep pushing. Fuck if you relapse. Fuck if you lapse. None of that shit matters. What matters is you keep pushing through. There is no shame in a relapse. There is no shame in a lapse. What the shame is, and if you don't get back up and try and keep trying, it's okay if you get down on yourself. It's hard, but get back up because hope is on the other side. And when you least expect it, or maybe when you most expect it, it'll finally hit you. You'll get that gift of desperation. You'll get that moment of clarity that you don't want to live like that anymore. And I want to end it on this. I want to talk about recovery in general. There's a lot of also stigmas inside of recovery about how you should do it, the way to do it. There's only this way, there's only that way. Don't listen to any of that. Do what works for you. If working in an anonymous fellowship works for you like it did for me, do that. If harm reduction is a way for you to get better and start getting better and start focusing on maybe getting a goal of abstinence or not, whatever, do that. If going to church works for you, do that. If finding a community works for you, do that. If going out and surfing and finding people to talk about life works for you, do that. Find what brings you hope. Find what gets you out of your addiction and finds joy and peace and happiness and fulfills your heart. I can't tell you how many people have the stigma or the shame that comes along with a relapse or not doing it a certain way. That is such a detriment to people who are struggling and people who are sick. And I'm here to tell you there is no shame and guilt in it. You are trying. Keep going. Keep trying. Try what works for you. You'll find something. And then you'll be able to live a life like I do beyond your wildest dreams. If you would ask me the life that I live, the night that I tried to end my life, if the life I live now, the night I tried to end my life, I would have screamed at you. I would have told you to stop lying to me. I would have told you you're full of shit. That's not meant for me. But it was. It was meant for me. I just didn't see it. But day by day, it started building up. And that same thing can happen for you if you're struggling. And I want you to know that. You may not feel it, but I'm telling you, maybe you can come back to this video and see it and then feel it. Maybe this is planting a seed. Maybe it's not doing anything for you. But I want you to know that your substance abuse issues and your addictions and whatever you're struggling with are not the end of you. They do not define you. You are sick and you deserve to get better. You are worthy to get better. Just keep fighting for yourself. I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks so much for tuning in. You know, if you know anyone who's struggling with drugs or alcohol and you think this video might help them, please share it. That's my whole point with this whole spiritual growth sessions, with everything I'm doing, is trying to spread a message that will resonate with people. So if you think it will, please share it with somebody. If not, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week. Peace.